All right, fam, let's get real for a minute. Let's have a real heart-to-heart, just you and me. Tonight, we're not going to talk about some far-off, dusty old doctrine. Nah, we're going to crack open the single most mind-blowing secret of the universe, and get this, it's already parked inside your own skin. Joel Goldsmith was all about that one game changer, Christ in you. Not as some historical figure way back when, but as the living, breathing presence of God, your true self right here, right now, your superpower, your core. The real you that never got stressed, never got sick, never bought into the lie that you're separate or lacking. So, what happens when that lightning bolt actually hits you? I mean, when you truly get it, not just in your head, but in your bones. It ain't about joining a new club. It's about your whole world doing a 180, anxiety. It loses its grip. That feeling of emptiness. Gone. You start moving through life from a place of total wholeness, because you finally know the source isn't out there. It's in here. But here's the wild part. This isn't the end of the journey. It's the jump off. When you anchor into this, you become a secret channel for this presence to work through you, healing your world without you even breaking a sweat. Which makes me wonder, what would your life look like tomorrow if you spent just 10 minutes today in the silence of that truth? What would just fall away? If this hit home for you, do me a solid like this video, drop a 777 in the comments if you're ready to explore that inner kingdom, and subscribe, because next time, we're going deeper into how to live from this space when your world is going totally off the rails. Peace. Now let's talk about that first massive shift, the inward turn. Most of us, let's be honest, are running on a hamster wheel of seeking. We're looking for the answer, the fix, the blessing, the breakthrough. Out there, we pray to a God we imagine is up in the sky, like a divine vending machine. We chase spiritual experiences, we hunt for the perfect teacher, we wait for some external sign to give us the green light for our lives. We're begging for a drop of water from a well 1,000,000 miles away. Joel would say we've got it all backwards. The whole search itself is the problem, because it confirms the lie that we are here and God is there. That we are lacking. Or the fulfillment is somewhere else. This is the cosmic setup for exhaustion and disappointment. You're seeking what you already are. The radical, game-changing pivot, the only one that matters, is the shift from seeking God to acknowledging God, from begging to abiding. It's the moment you stop straining your eyes toward the horizon and finally, quietly, look down at your own feet and realize you've been standing in the ocean this whole time. The presence you've been pleading for isn't withholding itself. It's the very substance of your being. It's the intelligence behind your every thought, the life force animating your breath, the silent space in which all your emotions and dramas play out. This isn't about acquiring new information. It's about a change of address. You're moving your center of operations from the little you, the personality with its story, its wounds, its wants, to the vast unchanging I am. That's the Christ. That's your true identity. When you make this inward shift, the entire energy of your life transforms. The frantic vibration of seeking cools into the warm hum of knowing. Your prayer stops being a list of requests and becomes a deep listening, a sinking into the certainty that you are already home. The anxiety that came from feeling like a separate, fragile drop in a hostile universe begins to dissolve, because you start to feel yourself as the ocean itself, limitless, boundless, and incapable of being threatened. All the spiritual practices, the readings, the lectures, they aren't meant to bring God to you. Their only real purpose is to wear down your insistence that you are apart from God, to quiet the noise of the external search so you can hear the eternal yes that's already resounding within your own silence. The miracle, then, isn't something that happens to you. It's what happens as you, when you stop blocking the flow with your seeking and simply let the infinite presence that you are express itself. Your health, your relationships, your supply, they aren't problems to be solved by a distant deity. They are simply areas of your human experience waiting to be illuminated and harmonized by the light of your own acknowledged divine identity. The peace you wanted to find, it was the seeker all along, and this brings us right to the heart of the misunderstanding we got to clear up. See, when most folks hear that word, Christ, a whole bunch of old pictures pop into their heads. We think of a first-century man, a story in a book, a painting in a church, maybe even a symbol we wear around our necks. That's all fine, but if we leave it there, we miss the whole point, and we keep that presence at a safe, comfortable distance in history. Joel was adamant about this. He'd tell us we're worshipping the container and missing the contents. That man, Jesus of Nazareth, was the great revelation, the ultimate example, because he fully embodied and demonstrated this truth. But the Christ is the truth itself. It's not a person, it's a principle. It's not a who back then, it's the z what and the zu where right now. Think of it this way, it's like the difference between a single, perfect wave and the entire ocean. Jesus was that magnificent individual wave, showing us what the ocean is capable of, its power, its grace, its movement. But Christ is the ocean itself. It's the infinite, impersonal, spiritual substance of God. It's the living current of life, intelligence, love, and power that forms the very core of all creation. And here's the kicker, that ocean isn't just for one perfect wave. It's the substance of every single wave. It is your I am, before you add any I am this or I am that to it. It is the conscious awareness reading these words right now, the very seat of your being that was never born and will never die. So when we talk about Christ in you, we are not talking about inviting a historical ghost to live in your heart. We are pointing to the stunning, almost unbelievable fact that your deepest, most real self is not a separate, biological accident, but a localized expression of the one divine consciousness. This presence isn't emotional. It doesn't get offended or have favorites. It doesn't come and go. It is the very light by which you see both joy and sorrow, the silent witness that is aware of all your thoughts without being tangled up in any of them. It's the rock-solid peace underneath the stormy weather of your life. When you start to grasp this, and I mean really let it sink in past your intellectual arguments, it changes everything about how you move through your day. You're no longer trying to please a distant CEO, God with your good behavior, hoping for a reward. You're learning to quiet down and let the CEO be you. From the inside out, you begin to see your own consciousness as the very field where God operates. Your problems then aren't shouted up to heaven, they're surrendered down into this infinite depth within you. Healing isn't something you pray for, it's what naturally emerges when you get your little self-sense of meh out of the way and let this harmonious, intelligent presence flow unimpeded. It's the difference between trying to paint a masterpiece in the dark and finally letting someone turn on the lights so you can see what God, has already created. Now, this understanding of Christ as your own conscious presence begins to dismantle the core illusion of human life. What the belief in the two. From the moment we wake up, we're trained to see the world in terms of separation. There's me and there's you. There's good and bad. There's health and sickness, abundance and lack, success and failure. We live in a universe of opposites, of competing forces, and our entire experience is built on navigating this battlefield. We think life is a tug of war, and we're just trying to pull our side to victory. But this perception, while it feels undeniably real, is the very veil that hides the truth of our being. Joel called this the carnal mind, the sense of self that believes it is alone, fragile, and in constant need of defense or acquisition. It's the voice that says, I am incomplete, I must get, I must protect, I must achieve to be worthy. This mind operates solely in the realm of duality. But the truth of Christ in you reveals there is no other side to pull against. There is only one. Not one thing and another thing, but one single, indivisible, spiritual substance appearing as the infinite variety of creation. Think of a projector and a movie screen. The screen holds all the images, heroes and villains, oceans and deserts, joy and tragedy. They seem to interact, to conflict, to be separate from each other. But in reality, they are all made of the same substance. The light of the projector appearing as form on the one screen. The villain isn't fighting the hero, it's all just light. When you start to abide in your true identity as that light, as the Christ presence, you don't become blind to the world's appearances. You just stop being fooled by them. You see the play of form, but you know the substance. A financial challenge isn't a menacing enemy out there. To be fought with anxiety, it's a specific configuration of the one substance calling for recognition. It's an invitation to stop seeing me versus the lack, and to instead acknowledge the infinite, creative source within as the only reality. In that acknowledgement, the configuration must change, because you've stopped giving power to the illusion of a second, opposing power. This is the end of warfare. It's the end of praying as against something. You're no longer trying to get God to destroy your enemy or fix your problem, because you realize there is, what in ultimate truth, no other, out there independent of the one divine consciousness that you are. Your prayer becomes a gentle, firm bedding in the truth of unity. Father, all that I am is Thee. In this space, what used to be a threatening other, be it a person, a disease, a circumstance, loses its independent power. It is seen for what it is, a temporary form appearing on the screen of the one life, which you are. You don't conquer it, you out-see it. You stop feeding the dream of separation, and as you do, the nightmare simply can't sustain itself. The tension dissolves not because you won a fight, but because you finally understood there was never a real opponent to begin with. Your life ceases to be a series of battles and becomes a peaceful, sometimes wondrously mysterious, unfolding of the one I am through the unique lens of your individual experience. This realization of union changes everything about how you operate in the world. Most of us are conditioned to live for outcomes. We're goal-oriented, result-driven. We plant a seed and then we hover over it, sweating, praying for rain, staring at the ground, demanding a sprout. Our happiness, our sense of worth, our entire mental state gets hooked to whether or not that specific outcome shows up. We think the power is in the getting of the thing. But living from the source flips that script entirely. It means your center of gravity, your point of fulfillment, is no longer tethered to the visible evidence. You learn to live from the finished kingdom, from the wholeness within, and let the outer scene arrange itself accordingly. You're not living for the harvest. You're living from the bounty of the seed itself. Because if Christ is your true identity, then you are already the embodiment of completeness. You are the very substance of life, intelligence, harmony, and abundance. To live from the source is to take your stand right there, in that knowing, regardless of what the physical senses or the bank statement or the doctor's report is yelling at you. It's the difference between being a beggar outside the feast, hoping someone throws you a scrap, and knowing you are the host, the provider, the very abundance of the feast itself. Your work isn't to create the good. Your work is to recognize that the good God is already the entirety of what you are. From that anchored place, you act. What your actions are no longer frantic attempts to make something happen. They become a natural, almost effortless, expression of the inner reality. Imagine a fountain. The source is the underground spring, the infinite, pressurized water. The spout is where the water manifests into visible form, shooting into the air in a beautiful, dynamic display. We've been taught to focus all our energy on manipulating the shape of the water in the air, trying to will it into a specific pattern with our hands, freaking out if it splashes wrong. Living from the source means you turn your attention completely away from the visible spray and you go within, to the spring. You commune with it. You acknowledge its infinite pressure, its endless flow. You rest in the certainty of its nature. And when you do that, the outward expression, the spray, cannot help but be harmonious, abundant, and perfect. It may not look exactly like your little human mind thought it should, but it will be the right and perfect form for that moment. So you don't live for a specific job, relationship, or dollar amount. You live from the consciousness of omnipotent life, omnipresent intelligence, and infinite love. You do the footwork that appears before you. You send the resume. You make the call, you take the medicine, but you do it without the old baggage of fear and attachment. You do it as an overflow of your inner stillness and knowing, not as a desperate attempt to fill a void. The outcomes cease to be your God. They become mere illustrations, sometimes surprising and always temporary, of the one permanent reality God expressing as your life. Your peace is no longer pending. It's established because you've plugged yourself into the current that never flickers, and you let that current determine the brightness of the bulb. So what does this look like in the nitty-gritty of daily life? It's the most practical thing in the world. When you stop living for outcomes and start abiding in that inner union, you aren't becoming passive or checked out. You're becoming something far more powerful. You become a transparency. The little personal you, with its limited intelligence, its personal history of hurts, and its narrow agenda, begins to step aside. It's like a window pane that's finally been cleaned. The window itself isn't the light, it doesn't generate the warmth. But when it's clear, the sun can stream through it without distortion, illuminating and warming everything in the room. You become that clear pane for the divine. Your human form, or your personality, your specific location in time and space, becomes the very means through which the impersonal, infinite Christ presence touches this world. This is where the so-called miracles happen, and they're not magic, they're natural law. It's what occurs when the obstruction of a separate sense of self is removed. You stop trying to be the healer, the provider, the problem solver with your own limited human will and understanding. Instead, you consciously become a place where the infinite intelligence and life of God can operate. You might find yourself speaking the perfect word to a friend in need, not because you cleverly thought of it, but because it flowed through you. You might have an intuitive nudge to turn left instead of right, avoiding an accident. A creative solution to a problem at work might just pop into your head, fully formed, when you've stopped grinding on it. That's not you being clever. That's the Christ intelligence, finding its avenue of expression through a consciousness that's gotten itself out of the way. This transparency also transforms your relationships. You stop looking to other people to complete you or validate you, because you're anchored in your own wholeness. And because you're not seeing them as separate sources of your pain or pleasure, you begin to see the Christ in them, even when their human behavior is difficult. You're no longer reacting to the surface-level personality, you're silently acknowledging the one divine presence shining in them. And that acknowledgement has a power to call it forth. You become a healing presence not by doing anything to them, but simply by being the clear space through which unconditional love is perceived. Your very stillness can dissolve tension in a room, because you're not adding the fuel of your own reaction to the fire. Your work in the world becomes an act of bearing witness, not personal accomplishment. You show up, but you let the infinite presence guide the showing up. You might write or teach or build or heal, but the weight of the outcome is off your shoulders. You're the conduit, not the source. The pressure is off. This is the secret of true service. It's never about you amplifying your small self to help others. It's about you becoming so quiet, so transparent, that the one Father within you touches the one Father within them, and the healing, whether physical, mental, or circumstantial, occurs without your personal intellect ever taking credit. You live as an open door, and you let the wind of the Spirit blow through. Doing what it will, where it will, your life becomes less of a biography and more of a geography, the specific terrain through which the river of God chooses to flow. All of this, the inward shift, recognizing the presence, living from union, becoming a transparency. It can sound like a lofty state of grace that only the saints achieve. But Joel was relentlessly practical. This isn't about achieving a perpetual psychic high. It's about a conscious, daily practice. It's about the mechanics of abiding. Because the old carnal mind, the sense of separation, has a lifetime of momentum. It's like a record stuck in a deep, familiar groove. The truth of your oneness is a different song entirely, and to hear it, you have to consciously, deliberately lift the needle and place it in a new groove again and again. This is the work, the practice of silence, listening, and abiding. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the conscious withdrawal of your attention from the outer world of effects and the inner world of your own chattering, problem-solving, fearful thinking. It's going into your inner room and shutting the door on the to-do lists, the news cycle, the relationship dramas, and even on your own spiritual aspirations. You sit not to get something, not even to achieve peace, but to acknowledge what is already there. You become still, not to empty your mind by force, but to let the static of you settle so the constant, still signal of the I am can be recognized. It might feel like doing nothing. In human terms it is. You are ceasing to be the door so that the one door can be revealed. And then you listen. This is the most active part of the practice. You listen not with your ears, but with your entire being. You listen for the subtle feel of that presence. You listen in the same way you'd listen in a pitch-black room for a familiar, loving voice. You're not listening for words, though they may come. You're listening for a feeling of certainty, a deep, settled peace, an intuitive knowing that needs no explanation. You're listening for the Christ. This listening is an attitude of total receptivity, a surrender of your own opinions about how things should be, a humble standing at the door of your own consciousness, waiting for the master of the house to speak, to move, to just be. It is in this listening that the transition happens. You stop being the actor on the stage, desperately trying to remember your lines, and you become the audience, witnessing the perfect play. Abiding is what happens when you carry that listening stillness out of the chair and into your day. It's the continuous thread of remembrance. It's catching yourself when you've been pulled back into the groove of separation, when worry, anger, or lack has hooked you, and gently, without self-judgment, turning within again. It's taking a silent breath at your desk and touching that inner stillness before you send the email. It's pausing in the middle of an argument to acknowledge the one presence behind the two frightened faces. Abiding is letting the truth you contacted in the silence become the lens through which you interpret every single thing that happens. It's not a perfect state. What a returning, each return deepens the groove, making it easier to find next time. The practice isn't what earns you the presence. The practice is how you scrub the window clean, so you can finally see that the sun has been shining all along. It's how you stop seeking the melody and realize you are the instrument now being played.